friends and neighbors and fellow Bible students. We are in Book of Revelation, chapter 17 and 18 today, and we had just gotten through an interlude that covered chapters 12, 13, 14, and then in 15 and 16, we looked at the bowls. The bowl judgments, the last judgments. So in 17, I'm just having to get my focus here. I recorded this once and forgot to press record, so this is my second time. And I've started 3 times on it, so it's a struggle today. So, chapter 17, verse 1. We are finished with the interlude because we were going along. We talked about the seals, we talked about the trumpets, and then we had this interlude through 12, 13, 14, and then we got back into the bowl judgments, and we are at the last of the plagues, and now we're going to talk about the whore of Babylon. So the first few verses of chapter 17 is talking about that last bowl, and then it goes into a little bit of a flashback and talks about the time during the Great Tribulation, the 3.5 years, and some things about the great mother of whores and of the earth's obscenities, Babylon. So let's see what we can learn about her. Verse 1. Then came one of the angels with the 7 bowls, and he said to me, "Come, I will show you the judgment of the great whore who is sitting by many waters. The kings of the earth went whoring with her, and the people living on earth have become drunk from the wine of her whoring. He carried me off in the spirit to a desert, and I saw a woman sitting on a scarlet beast, filled with blasphemous names and having 7 heads and 10 horns. So she is riding on a beast. She's sitting on a beast that has 7 heads and 10 horns, and we've heard that before. The woman was dressed in purple and scarlet and glittered with gold, precious stones and pearls. In her hand was a gold cup filled with the obscene and filthy things produced by her whoring. On her forehead was written a name with a hidden meaning. Babylon the Great Mother, let me read that again. Babylon, the great mother of whores and of the earth's obscenities. I saw the woman drunk from the blood of God's people, that is, from the blood of the people who testify about Yeshua. So this woman is connected to the beast. She's connected to the Antichrist, and she has drank from the blood of God's people, the ones who follow Jesus as the Messiah. On seeing her, said John, I was altogether astounded. Evidently, he was very shocked at who she was, at who was connected with the beast. Why are you astounded? The angel said. I will tell you the hidden meaning of the woman and of the beast with 7 heads and 10 horns that was carrying her. The beast you saw once was, now is not, and will come up from the abyss, but it is on its way to destruction. So this is a little confusing description of the beast. He once was, he now is not, but he will come up from the abyss. He will appear again, but he will be destroyed. The people living on earth, whose names have not been written in the book of life since the founding of the world, will be astounded to see the beast that once was, now is not, but is to appear. This calls for a mind with wisdom. The 7 heads are 7 hills on which the woman is sitting. That reference, the 7 heads and are the 7 hills, is a phrase that causes some people to believe this is referring to Rome or something that is connected to Rome. This calls, in verse 9, this calls for a mind with wisdom. The 7 heads are 7 hills on which the woman is sitting. Also, they are 7 kings. So the 7 hills are also 7 kings. 5 have fallen. 1 is living now, and the other is yet to come. And when he does come, he must remain only a little while. The beast which once was and now is, okay, let me read that again. The beast which once was and now is not an 8th king. It comes from the 7 and is on its way to destruction. This is all very confusing, don't you think? I think it is. Verse 12. The 10 horns you saw are 10 kings who have not yet begun to rule. So, this is another clue that we're flashing back and looking to the time during the 3.5 years when the kings will rule and the Antichrist will rule. So, we are not seeing something at the end of the judgments. It's another little flashback. They receive power as kings for 1 hour along with the beast. They have one mind, and they hand over their power and authority to the beast. So these kings come into power, but then they hand it over to the beast or to the Antichrist. They will go to war against the Lamb, but the Lamb will defeat them because he is Lord of Lords and King of Kings. And those who are called, chosen, and faithful will overcome right along with him. Then he said to me, the waters that you saw, where the whore is setting, are peoples, crowds, nations, and languages. As for the 10 horns that you saw and the beast, they will hate the whore and bring her to ruin, leave her naked, eat her flesh, and consume her with fire. So they will be in connection with her, they will use her, and then they will desert her. For God put it in their hearts to do what will fulfill his purpose, that is, to be of one mind and give their kingdom to the beast until God's words have accomplished their intent. And the woman you saw is the great city that rules over the kings of the earth. So John says the woman is a city. And then, as I mentioned, because it says the 7 hills, a lot of people believe that that is Rome, because Rome is known as the city of 7 hills. So let's look at chapter 18. After these things, I saw another angel coming down from heaven. He had great authority. The earth was lit up by his splendor. He cried out in a strong voice, she has fallen, Babylon the Great. Now listen to this description of her, and it would be very interesting to go back in these 2 chapters and just make a list of the things that describe the woman and see if that will give us some kind of a hint as to who she might be. Now, there are many opinions about who she is. A lot of people believe she is the Catholic Church. But there are also a lot of people who believe she is America. It is also very popular now to believe she is Jerusalem. And many people believe that she is Christianity or institutionalized or traditional Christianity. And they say that because they believe that the Catholic Church is the mother of harlots, and that the Protestant church came off of the Catholic Church. And if you'll go back and look at the history, when Martin Luther pulled away from the Catholic Church, he did not completely pull away from the Catholic Church. The Protestant Church retained many of the Catholic Church's traditions, and so people believe that the Protestant religion has inherited things that are attached to the Catholic Church that may be wrong, especially when it comes to this. When people believe that this is the whore of Babylon, the mother of harlots, is the Catholic Church, they believe the institutionalized Protestant churches are the daughters of the whore. So there are a lot of opinions about who this woman riding the beast is. And so I'm not going to say what my opinion is one way or the other. We're just going to look at what the scripture says, at the description, and then we'll come to our own conclusions through prayer and asking the Holy Spirit to who she is. If we're not supposed to know right now, God will reveal it to us when we need to know. So let's see. Okay, here we go. Let's go back to some of the descriptions of this woman. He cried out in a strong voice, "She has fallen, she has fallen, Babylon the Great. She has become a home for demons, a prison for every unclean spirit, a prison for every unclean, hated bird." In ancient literature, a bird sometimes was a symbolism for evil. Verse 3, chapter 18, verse 3, "For all the nations have drunk of the wine of God's fury caused by her whoring. Yes, the kings of the earth went whoring with her, and from her unrestrained love of luxury, the world's businessmen have grown rich." Then I heard another voice out of heaven say, "My people, come out of her, so that you will not share in her sins, so that you will not be infected by her plagues. For her sins are a sticky mass piled up to heaven, and God has remembered her crimes." There are warnings here to stay away from her. It would be good if we knew who she was. To stay away from her so that we do not share in her sins. Verse 6, "Render to her as she rendered to others." So evidently she has done harm to others. "Pay her back double for what she has done. Use the cup in which she has brewed to brew her a double-sized drink." Again, it's saying give back to her what she has given to the world. And God will take care of that. "Give her as much torment and sorrow as the glory and luxury she gave herself. For in her heart she says, 'I sit a queen, I am not a widow, I will never see sorrow.' Therefore her plagues will come in a single day, death, sorrow, and famine, and she will be burned with fire, because Adonai, God, her judge, is mighty. The kings of the earth who went whoring with her and shared her luxury will sob and wail over her when they see the smoke as she burns." Isn't that something? Even seeing when God is punishing her, they still ache and wail over her. "Standing at a distance for fear of her torment, they will say, 'Oh no, the great city, Babylon, the mighty city, in a single hour your judgment has come.' The world's businessmen weep and mourn over her, because no one is buying their merchandise anymore. Stocks of gold and silver, gems and pearls, fine linen and purple, silk and scarlet, all rare woods, all ivory goods, all kinds of things made of scented wood, brass, iron, and marble, cinnamon, cardamom, incense, myrrh, frankincense, wine, oil, flour, grain, cattle, sheep, horses, and chariots, and bodies, and people's souls. So that covers almost everything. In other words, the businessmen of the world, the commerce of the world, made money off of the mother of harlots, off of Babylon the Great, from selling many things, including people's souls and bodies. That's very, very strong. Verse 14, the fruits you lusted for with all your hearts have gone. All the luxury and flashiness have been destroyed, never to return. The sellers of these things, who got rich from her, will stand at a distance for fear of her torment, weeping and mourning and saying, "Oh no, the great city used to wear fine linen, purple and scarlet. She glittered with gold, precious stones, and pearls. Such great wealth in a single hour ruined." So it looks like they're mourning out of fear for her torment, but also because they are still attached to all those material things and that wealth, and they are mourning over the wealth that is now missing from their lives. All the ship's masters, the passengers, the sailors, and everyone making his living from the sea stood at a distance and cried out when they saw the smoke as she burned. What city was like the great city? And they threw dust on their heads, which is a sign of mourning, as they wept and mourned, saying, "Oh no, the great city! The abundance of her wealth made all the ship owners rich. In a single hour she is ruined. Rejoice over her, heaven. Rejoice, people of God, emissaries and prophets, for in judging her, God has vindicated you." So evidently, she has done great damage to God's people. Then a mighty angel picked up a boulder the size of a great millstone and hurled it into the sea, saying, "With violence like this will the great city Babylon be hurled down, never to be found again. The sound of harpists and musicians, flute players and trumpeters will never again be heard in you. No worker of any trade will ever again be found in you. The sound of a mill will never again be heard in you. The light of a lamp will never again shine in you. The voice of bridegroom and bride will never again be heard in you. For your businessmen were the most powerful on earth. All the nations were deceived by your magic spell. In her was found the blood of prophets and of God's people, indeed of all who have ever been slaughtered on earth." So that is pretty powerful. That is a very vivid description of this horrible woman, of this horrible city. And I did think, when I looked back at it, for your businessmen were the most powerful on earth. So who could it possibly be that has the most powerful businessmen on earth? So there are a lot of choices, a lot of opinions on who this is, but it's very, very interesting. So we will talk about that at the next Zoom meeting after everyone has had a chance to look at this. And then we'll talk about 19 and 20 next. And then we'll do 21 and 22, which are my two favorite chapters in the book. So we're almost finished. So I will see you in the next video, or some of you, I'll see you tonight at the Zoom meeting. I love you. Thank you for watching.